returns to Jakarta. The Jaguars collide.
Come on, come on, come on.
Yes,
It is so good to be back. Welcome to Jakarta, welcome to Indonesia, and welcome to round 10 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Once again, this place has brought the heat and the humidity, which simply put means this will be the biggest test the Gen 3 car has ever faced. Unfortunately for the drivers, they simply cannot fail this test. In terms of closeness, it couldn't be any tighter. All of the top 6 could end the weekend leading the championship. There are just 7 races left. 2 will be determined this weekend. And by the way, in terms of quali, possibly the most crucial we've had all season in determining the race result. Delighted to be joined by 2 men who you wouldn't believe have actually just run their way here like Michael Johnson in 1996, Nelson Piquet Jr., Formula World Champion, and Ali Askew, former Andretti driver. Nelson, I come to yourself first. You're feeling it now. It's humid and we get sweaty as a result.
I mean, it is close to Brazil, so for me, I'm not too unfamiliar with it. But I mean, it is brutal hot. It's going to be a doubleheader this weekend for the drivers, for the cars, for the team, for the powertrains, for the tires. I mean, it is brutal conditions over here, which they're going to be facing this weekend. So good luck to all of them. It's going to be, I think they're going to want a bit of a drink Sunday night after these 2 big, tough races.
Definitely, I think Nick Cassidy had a drink after Monaco. He's now our new championship leader. What a season, first of all, he's had, by the way.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job, just calm, cool, and collected, working really well with that Envision team, and that Jaguar powertrain is working well as well. So yeah, we'll see how they go into this weekend. I think they can just continue their momentum into the last quarter of this season. 203 points available this weekend on the doubleheader, so a lot can happen. We talk about that top 6 can be completely jumbled, after these races. So we'll see.
Massively exciting, even more exciting now after free practice 1 and 2, because Nick Cassidy had issues with the communications in free practice 1 and then in free practice 2 had a spin out in turn 1, Nelson. Could this be potentially a chink in the Envision armor?
Look, he's proven his consistency in all kinds of different tracks. So this is only practice. We saw the result. I think qualifying is going to be a whole different ball game. He's going to show his strengths and his consistency regardless of the temperature, the kind of track there is. So my bets are still going to be on Nick.
So do not doubt it. It was a big spin, it has to be said. And Envision, actually, Sebastian Buemi didn't perform very well in FP2 as well. So could it be a possible changing of the guard once again? Well, Nick Cassidy, the #1 Kiwi, Sauna's Carmichael Brown is currently with the 2nd fastest Kiwi.
So I'm here down at the Jaguar TCS garage with Mitch Evans. Now, there's a few things I want to talk to you about. The first of all is your run of consistency and form, because you are coming off the back of 3 podiums in 4 races.
Yeah, thanks, man. I was just say, yeah, don't jinx it, please.
Touch wood.
Yeah, no, it's been going really well. Look, I had an awkward start. Like, I had just a little bit of a bad run of kind of luck, because the pace is always kind of there. So yeah, since Sao Paulo, we've had a good string of races. We just try and keep that going. But this track's going to throw up a massive challenge for us. Just obviously physically, but more just from a technical side. What the car needs here is completely different to basically everywhere else. So just trying to work through that.
So looking back just briefly to this time last year, you qualified P3, but you got the win. We have seen multiple times this season that it's not always best to start from the front. Are we going to see the same this weekend?
I think the race could be a bit different here. It doesn't seem as, let's say, the way the race will play out from the energy side, maybe a little bit different compared to, especially the past couple of races. So maybe track position may be a little bit more critical. That's just my prediction. I'll probably be wrong. But yeah, we always try and qualify at the front and then race from there. Obviously track position is always, in our sport, is always key, and then you kind of dictate what you want to do from strategy point of view from there. The further you start back, yeah, maybe from a slipstream effect is always a bit more optimal, but you're a bit more in the mess, let's say. More risk of, dropping your front wing, being caught in an accident. So, but yeah, we always try and aim for the front and then going from there.
So would you say, after now having done free practice 1 and free practice 2, things are looking in a good place?
Me personally, I thought I was late for qualifying or something. To be honest, I was hoping to be a little bit stronger. so far. So we've made some tweaks between FP1 and FP2. We're making some more tweaks to qualifying. But I definitely felt more comfortable in the last few races. So yeah, last year I was more comfortable here, to be honest. So yeah, we knew it was going to be a little bit different. But yeah, Sam was quite competitive in that last run. I was okay, but not where I would expect to be. So yeah, hopefully the change we're going to make now will help the car.
Well, we'll see. Nice one. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Saunders. Mitch Evans, by the way, one of the coolest customers there is. Interestingly, one of only 2 drivers to have actually competed in duels 7 times. He'll be very curious to find out what you rate of this track, Ollie. It's a tough one.
Yeah, let's go. So we're on board here, driver's eye with Pascal Wehrlein, one of our recent championship leaders, sitting P2 right now. Heading into turn 1, heavy braking, a fantastic passing opportunity on the track, probably the best. And you'll see here, just no time to rest from this point on to the end of the lap. And I want to pause here. Look how difficult this car placement is into this corner. It looks like he's going to clip that wall.
Yeah.
And so at the apexes, when there isn't a curb, it's just a wall. And a lot of times you see the driver, clip that inside, and then they lose steering. So very, very crucial car placement here for Pascal. And we'll move on. Yeah, the closer you are to the walls, the less in the dirt you are. So moving on into turn 7, another crucial passing opportunity on this circuit. Always working, always turning, setting the car up, hustling the car, preparing for the next section. And here we are into a fairly high-speed portion of the track, starting sector 3.
Nelson, when you were doing this, how are you feeling? Because it's busy. There's a lot going on here.
This sector we just passed through is one of the quickest area of the track, and for me it's the toughest one. I think the drivers in that sector we just passed are going to make a big difference in qualifying. You come into the last 2 corners over here, as Oliver said, really busy track, and I think it's a driver's track over here. I mean, it's not too bumpy, but you cannot go off the racing line. You cannot see the dirt over here. But you've seen drivers, if they go a little bit off the line, they're spinning, they're causing, losing a lot of time. So you need to be really focused. It is an amazing track over here in terms of speed. Temperature is going to be high, so it's going to be very demanding and very tough for the drivers, cars, teams.
Yeah, I want to point out this final stretch onto the start-finish, the only straight line acceleration on this circuit. So the rest of the corners, you're having some wheel in the car, trying to accelerate and leave the corner, which causes oversteer. So that's a very difficult part of this track.
It's going to be a fascinating race, it has to be said, but in terms of qualifying the duels, this could be crucial in deciding the eventual outcome of the race, especially because in terms of efficiency, it's not like we saw in Sao Paulo, it's not like we saw in South Africa. This could be an out-and-out race. So without further ado, let's get the qualifying underway. Who will make it through to the duels? And so we can hand over to our commentary team for this one.
Qualifying for the Gulavit Jakarta E-Prix Round 10 of the Formula E World Championship is all set to begin. 2 groups of 11 cars each will compete on track initially, with the fastest 4 drivers of each group then going into the duels stage. Head-to-head competition in the quarterfinals, semi-finals and the final will determine who takes pole. Group A is coming up. Nick Cassidy, the championship leader in that. And the 2 groups are split by championship position. So we've got the 1st, 3rd, 5th, etc. in the championship coming out in Group A in just a moment. And then 2nd, 4th, 6th. And the even numbers will be coming out in Group B. So track conditions, as expected here in Jakarta, very dry. And don't forget, you can scan on board on the screen and join in the Formula E predictor. Predict who's going to be up there, who's going to be getting the command of pole position perhaps at the end of it, or perhaps winning in each of the duels. You can play a part of that, so please scan what is on the screen bottom left. So we're getting ready here, Karun, for the start of qualifying. It is high temperatures here, so of course that is an issue on, even though we're only looking at 1 flying lap, maybe a couple of flying laps in this session, that is an issue with the tyres, because at some tracks you've got to work those tyres quite hard. Here, maybe look after them a little more cautiously.
Yeah, that's right. What we're going to see are 2 different factors here. One is, as you rightly said, the tyres and the temperature and the effect that's going to have, because you can't do too many laps before the temperatures get way out of the optimum window. But conversely, the more laps the drivers do, the track will get cleaned up. So I fully expect the last lap to be the fastest one. And what the teams and the drivers have got to do with their timing is make sure that they've got cool tyres for that final lap.
They've got to get a flying lap within the first 6 minutes. That's part of the rules. You've got to do at least one flying lap within the first 6 minutes. The clock ticking away through this whole 12-minute Group A section. It goes faster than you think sometimes, I have to say. And we've got a few more cars actually coming out on track right now.
Yeah, interestingly, both the DS Penske cars are still in the pit, so they are choosing to just wait and let the others go and clean up the track a little bit, which is an interesting tactic. But as we said before, you know, the tyres come in straight away on the first or second lap, so they don't need to go pounding round and round like we saw them doing in places like Diriyah, for example, where it was extremely cold with that night qualifying.
Well, let's keep an eye on Jake Hughes, the man who started from pole position last time out in Monaco. He wasn't actually the fastest setter of a time in the final, but he has been doing a great job in qualifying. It's his second pole position of the year. So let's see whether Jake Hughes can put together a good lap. It's going to give us... Oh, he gets it a bit out of shape.
Yeah, it seemed like he just locked up the rears at that final phase there, because the initial part of braking seemed okay, but just in that last phase as he was turning into the apex, the rear stepped out of line, so he would have dumped a load of lap time there. But, you know, he'll regroup, he'll get another chance. I think that's the benefit, as he's locked up completely to that. So, yeah, this lap is fully done and dusted for Jake Hughes.
Yeah, but as you say, he's learning from it at the same time, so we shall see how it works. So Jake Hughes, who's had these good qualifying positions this year, 2 pole positions, but hasn't had a podium yet, hasn't always quite worked out for him in the race. It does seem as though the McLaren with the Nissan powertrain can be quick in qualifying, sometimes misses out a little bit in the race. So he sets an initial time of 1:11.1. That is some way off what we were seeing earlier in free practice. We saw a 1:08.3 from Max Günther in second practice. He had also set the pace in first practice as well. So we're going to see quicker times, I'm sure.
Yeah, the session is going to get quicker and quicker, but what we have to keep in mind is in this part of qualifying, they're only using the 300 kilowatt power mode, and that those times for free practice will be similar to what we see when we get to the duel stages, when they use the higher power mode of 350 kilowatts.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're not allowed to use that higher power mode until we get into the duels. So Jake Dennis here in the Avalanche Andretti, one of the championship contenders, currently sitting at 3rd in the championship at the moment. Let's just see how this comes across the line for him. It is, yep, it's a good lap time, 1:09.2. So now we're into the 1:09s, that's more like it. Sam Bird was going well earlier. He goes second fastest to Jake Dennis.
That's a strong lap from Jake Dennis. 4 tenths clear of Sam Bird. Sasha Fenestraz pops into 4th place, and Nick Cassidy, the championship leader, now into 2nd, which is encouraging for Nick. He didn't have a great run in free practice. He was outside the top 10. As was his teammate that we were seeing there, Sebastian Buemi. Both Envision cars didn't have a great run this morning, so that'll be a bit of optimism in that team now.
P1 by 4.5 tenths so far to Bird.
We've got some weird, like, knocking on the right front suspension.
Saying he's got some weird knocking on the right front suspension. Let's hope that's not a major problem. We're waiting for Van Dorn and Verne to set a lap time.
So far this season, the DS Penske teams have complained about not being able to get the tyres into the right window when there's cooler conditions. Well, they haven't got cooler conditions today, and the track temperature, Ben, has risen since free practice. So I wonder if this is going to suit these 2 guys. Van Dorn, fastest of anybody in the first sector. Verne a little bit down, 10.5 slower than the Belgian.
It's a weekend of celebration for this team, even though both cars are in the same group here in qualifying. The 100th race for DS Automotive, who provide the powertrain, and 2 drivers' titles, 2 teams' titles in the history of Formula E. So they're celebrating that. You can see it on the livery of the cars. But right now, it's about lap time.
That's right. Van Dorn fastest of anyone in the second sector as well, and Jean-Eric Verne some way behind him, has to be said, about half a second behind at this stage. Van Dorn has got a car ahead of him, but that shouldn't be a problem. He's far enough ahead, and we'll see as he comes up to the line. He does go to the top of the times. Lost a little bit to Jake Dennis in the last sector, though.
So that's not, it's a good start. Listen, Jean-Eric Verne, yeah, not having such a good time at the moment. Robin Fry's coming across the line 5th. Roberto Merri, who's making his debut in Formula E this weekend, down in 11th place at the moment. He's been saying there's a little bit of a problem with rear lockups going on with his car, so that's something that the team will have to try and approach as well. We're watching Sam Bird right now. He's currently in 4th position. Remember, it's all about the top 4. When we get into the final couple of minutes of this Group A qualifying, it's who's going to be in the top 4, because you get into the duels, as that graphic shows you, if you're in the top 4. If you're not, then that's qualifying over. Whoa,
that was close to the wall, wasn't it? He's up to the line, and he's lost time in the last sector with that slide out of the final corner. So there's an interesting decision to be made now by all these drivers. Do they come into the pits and put on another set of tyres? They only get two sets of tyres for the entire day's running. But if they put another set on, they'll be cool. These tyres they've got on their cars now have done 4 laps already, and therefore it's you know, they're going to be probably 40, 50 degrees hotter than the ones that are sitting in the pits.
Well, we are hearing some drivers are coming in to change tyres, there's no doubt.
Yeah, Van Dorn, Dennis, Fern, Freins, Merri already in the pits. Sam Bird, this is the slide I think we're going to see out of the final corner, turn 18. Just lots of understeer on the way in, and then when he picked up the power, it was on the dirt. He touched the wall, Ben.
Yeah, I wondered if he had, actually. When we saw the onboard, I wasn't sure. Let's have another look from the onboard view.
Yeah, look, chasing the understeer. Then when he picks the power up, the understeers put him offline, and the left-hand tyres were on the dirt. So when he started to accelerate, he just didn't have the grip that he would have expected there.
So Stoffel Van Dorn, who's had a bit of a tough season, even though he's reigning champion, won the title last year, the 31-year-old Belgian with so much experience in the top levels of motorsport, but he has had a bit of a tough time. He has had one very good qualifying, that was in Sao Paulo, where he was on pole, but apart from that, it's been a little bit difficult for him. He's only been in 3 duels so far this year, but right now Van Dorn is in a very good position.
So Hughes has chosen to abort the lap, and this is tricky. Look, there's a traffic jam here in the pit lane as somebody's coming off the weighbridge. So Hughes aborted that final lap, despite the fact that he didn't really do a proper lap first time round. The lap he aborted was good, would have been good enough to get into 3rd place. So there is pace in that McLaren. We've seen, as you said before, in qualifying. He's just got to close the lap out now.
Sam Bird's pretty happy with his car, apparently, but he's down in 5th place now, so he's going to have to find a little bit more pace as this session continues. And we are beginning to ramp up now with under 3.5 minutes to go. Tyres being changed.
Yeah, so the fresher, cooler tyres going on to Sam Bird's car, and similarly down at McLaren, lots of activity around Jake Hughes. They've got 3 minutes to go, so leaving themselves just a couple of laps here, aren't they? You know, maybe some drivers feel they could do it straight away on lap 1. Others thinking they might need to do a build lap, which is essentially a lap at about 80% to just try and get the temperatures even between the front and the rear of the car.
So here we are watching Roberto Merri, who's making his debut, the Spaniard, 32 years old. His debut in Formula E, but lots of experience in single-seater racing over the years, but this is so different, driving in Formula E with the electrical power, with the regeneration. When you get onto the brakes, it's not hydraulic brakes most of the time on the front, it's the powertrain in the front of the car that's generating the power back into the battery, generating that energy. Let's keep an eye on Merri and see how he's getting on here. Obviously trying to learn it all on a street track as well, never easy.
Yeah, it's a real challenge in Formula E because they are so different. You know, I know I'm saying the obvious by saying that obviously it's an electric car, but it is vastly different just in terms of how the driving experience is behind the wheel. All of the things that you mentioned, Ben, completely valid, and it makes it, I think, in terms of being able to adapt, one of the hardest categories to just get in and get on with it.
Well, here he is. He's kept it together, but you can see there's a lot of movement going on. He goes 10th fastest, so he goes 1 up from that lower position. But I think he's still taking a lot on board because you've got to try and keep it as smooth as possible. It wasn't the smoothest run by any means there, and he's still trying to absorb it all. But he's got 2 races this weekend. You'll have another qualifying session tomorrow for round 11, so there's plenty of opportunity to try and absorb more information. Now we're getting into the key phase of Group A. As you can see, a lot of the cars are out on track now as the clock is ticking away, and they all want to get that final lap in. We could see a complete change in the order as to who's going to get into the duels. Right now it's Van Dorn from Dennis, Nick Cassidy, the championship leader, in third place, and Sacha Fenestres, who's qualified well actually on several occasions. Again in Monaco last time out, he was right up there. Let's see whether he's going to stay in the top 4, or is Sam Bird going to get in there, for example.
Okay, we're good on time. We're good on time.
Right, so they're all aiming for 1 lap here, aren't they? You know, there's less than a minute on the clock, and so therefore they've all put themselves in this position where they're going to get 1 shot at getting into the duels.
Yeah, pressure on. This is where the adrenaline's picking up for the drivers. Nick Cassidy's already onto his lap in the green. Envision just going through down into turn 1. Stoffel Van Dorn and Jean-Eric Verne in the 2 DS Penske's. A little bit of a slip and a slide from Jake Dennis, but this could be a very quick lap for Jake Dennis in the Andretti.
Very strong first sector there, Ben. Nearly 2/10 up on Van Dorn's time, but I think we're going to see improvements up and down the field. As long as the drivers don't make mistakes, this is where they're really earning their money, because, as you say, the pressure's on, and when we get to this stage, it's kind of like a duel, except you're competing against 10 others, basically. You know, it's 1 lap, 1 shot at getting it right. Tictum goes third, so Tictum now into the top 4.
But we are going to see a lot of changes in this next few moments as the checkered flag is out. It's all about the lap that everybody is on right now. Jake Dennis is on a very good lap, as you say. Tictum had done an excellent middle sector. We're only just beginning to see drivers come through that middle sector, so Jake Dennis goes over the line and goes fastest. So it's looking as though he's going to be in the duels unless we see massive changes. Nick Cassidy third, bit more risky in third place, 2/10 down. Van Dorn improves, stays second, doesn't actually, and then Verne jumps up. So both DS Penske's at the moment in the top 4. Will they stay there? Are they going to be pushed down? Robin Freins.
Wow.
Great lap by Robin Freins, and that's pushed Cassidy out of the duels. So the championship leader has been pushed down to 5th place, and Robin Freins, my goodness, where's he got that from?
And Sam Bird only down in 8th. He's going to start on the 8th row of the grid, which is a massive disappointment for the Jaguar team.
Okay, I guess we missed it. Sorry.
He missed it by 0.02 of a second in the end, didn't he? And it was very, very close. That was on board with Nick Cassidy. My goodness, that was very close.
The tone there suggested to me he's made a mistake somewhere, because he's apologising pretty quickly, which, you know, when you go to driver psychology, tends to lean towards didn't quite do the job you would have liked to in the cockpit, but it'll be okay. I mean, that's okay for Cassidy. Obviously, having Dennis up at the front is slightly ominous, but we'll see how the duels unfold for Dennis.
Absolutely right, yeah. But Robin Freins, great effort by Robin in the Ad Cupra. He's had 1 pole this year. That was in the wet in Berlin. That was the only time, really, the car looked quite so rapid, but well done to Robin, and we'll have to see how it goes in the next stage for him in the duels. So the top 4 will be going through to the next stage. Jake Dennis setting the pace, but it was very close with Stoffel Van Dorn. Well done to TS Penske, getting both of their cars into the next part, and Robin Freins, excellent, but missing out the likes of Nick Cassidy, Fenestres and Sam Bird as well. To the garage, and well, lots of fun and games. Let's go down to Radzi in the pit lane.
Well, I'm joined by a very happy man here, Kelvin van der Linde from Apta Cupra, because your teammate has just gone through to the duels.
Yeah, absolutely great job by Robin. To be honest, nobody expected that, but I think that's really just the nature of today's qualifying. You have 1 shot. You know, in the past where it was a bit cooler, the guys had a couple of attempts at it, and here you can see Robin made the difference today.
I'm not sure how much of free practice 1 and 2 you saw. One of the big storylines for me was Nick Cassidy and Envision. They had issues in free practice 1, 2 he span, and he hasn't gone through to the duels. The man who's currently leading championship is out.
I mean, it's 2000, so it's really it's a hair to get in or get out, and that's how Formula E is. But that said, they've got great race pace, so I have no doubt that he'll be fine in the race.
Well, talking about Envision, let's speak to the team principal now, who's with Saunders Carmichael Brown.
So yes, I'm here with Sylvain Filippi, team principal of Envision Racing. Not the ideal start to the day with Nick in qualifying. Your point of view?
Yeah, we've improved. Nick was very thankful. We've improved the car a lot through the sessions. Obviously, very tricky conditions, dusty track, really hot. So we've played a lot with the setup. He was quite happy with where we ended up, but he missed out for like 0.003 of a second, which is really nothing. Great lap from Robin. We need to look at that. So, yeah, really frustrating to miss out on the duels by such a small margin. But overall, he's happy with the car. So now we need to see what we can do in the race. It's not
we don't need to look that far back to see Nick win a race from P9, only the last race in Monaco. Is that possible here, or is it going to be harder to make overtakes?
Yeah, it's going to be more difficult here because of the track layout, and the energy targets are easier to achieve. So, yeah, it's not going to be so easy. We hope we can make up some places, but we'll see. Also, temperatures will play a role. There might be some derating. Stuff will happen during the race for sure. But yeah, not ideal.
Yeah, challenges ahead. But thanks for the chat. Thank you.
Well, interesting times for the team, of course, and we've seen many people in the races this year coming through, having qualified further down the order, so it's certainly not all over, but it's still important. It's still very important to teams and drivers to try and get into that top 4, into the duels. And of course, remember, there are 3 points on offer for pole position. That can make a big difference as well. The track is looking good as we get Group B underway now. So we're going to see who are going to be the next 4 drivers to make it into the duels. But first of all, they need to just get a feel for the track, see what the grip levels are like. And as we saw earlier, Karun, the speed suddenly sort of picked up in Group A. Maybe there's a bit more track grip straight away for these guys.
Yeah, there certainly will be. We saw Jake Dennis did a 9-0 in that first group. So we'll have a look and see if that's the benchmark or the early benchmark for these drivers. But as we saw in that session, Ben, the best times are going to come on the final lap, and it'll be the same this time around. What's interesting to me is only 4 cars have gone out so far, and there's a whole lot of others, including these guys here at Maserati, who've been the pace setters, really. Certainly Max Gunther has been in both free practice sessions. He's just sitting tight, biding his time. But I would have expected to see Edo Mortara out on track. So for those of you who didn't watch free practice earlier on, Mortara crashed out on the opening lap of his running in free practice, and therefore missed the entire session. So unless the car's not ready yet, I'm somewhat surprised that he's not on track, or that he has just left the pit. So yeah, there you go. Car's ready, but I would have wanted to, be out there just getting as much learning as possible if I was him.
Sebastian Buemi on track as well in the other Envision. So we've got some teams that have ended up together. We've got both Maseratis in this group, and interestingly, both Porsches. I mean, that's 4 quick cars in itself, isn't it? Pascal Wehrlein in one of the Porsches, along with his teammate Da Costa, and then we've got both Maseratis. And as you say, we don't know about Mortara, but he was quick in first practice on Friday, so possibility. But then you've got Buemi in the Envision. He's likely to be quick as well. We did see his teammate just miss out, so can Sebastian Buemi try and throw that away and get the Envision into the duel? The Swiss, who won the title in the past, who's had 13 victories, the most wins in Formula E, tied with Di Grassi in that number. But in terms of qualifying, he does have he has 16 pole positions, the most of anybody in Formula E history. So let's see how this lap's going. Is he going to be able to add to his tally?
It's been pretty neat and tidy, just watching it unfold, no real mistakes, and he's been sort of avoiding the dirty bits and keeping it in all the grippy parts of the track, and it's popped him up with a 9.3. So I think that's a competitive time for a first effort in the session. David Beckman, the other rookie, we saw Roberto Meri in the opening group, and David Beckman replacing Andre Lotre at Avalanche Andretti. Andre is off at Le Mans, preparing for the 24-hour race as Beckman goes 3rd at the moment, but I don't think that is going to be enough.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, but he's still learning everything, and maybe there's going to be more opportunity. Now we're watching Antonio Felix da Costa here as he gets the Porsche up to speed and really could do. He's just outside the top 5 in the championship at the moment. Dropped a little way away. He's had one victory. He could do with a good weekend if he's going to continue a championship contest. And he's gone 4th fastest. So again, a little bit marginal there, just in the duel zone for the moment. New fastest lap by his teammate, though, Pascal Wehrlein. Now that's going to encourage Porsche into the 1-minute 8s. So it's a Wehrlein from Mitch Evans, from Sebastian Buemi, and Norman Nato with the Nissan. He's 4th fastest at the moment.
That's a good lap from Evans. You know, I was a little bit concerned after seeing Sam Bird's qualifying in that first group that Jaguar behind the curve a bit as Gunther goes 2nd, carrying on that strong form from free practice, less than a 10th off Wehrlein. But yeah, Evans will offer some encouragement to Jaguar.
Yeah, that is definitely good for Jaguar, as you say. Whether they're going to get that car in there or not, we shall wait and see. Pascal Wehrlein, though, going fastest for the moment over Max Günther. And you can scan the Formula E predictor, of course, and get involved and predict who's going to be up there in qualifying. At the end of all this, we will then measure it to see who actually does do it.
Yeah, Edo Mortara down in 10th place, and that, of course, is his first proper timed lap of today. First free practice session being yesterday, so track conditions will be pretty significantly different from when Edo last went for a push lap.
Okay, I've got a front-looking understeer. I go BMIC -1.
So he's trying to make an adjustment on the brake balance there and just move some of the brake power towards the rear of the car. So we'll see. So they're all driving up relatively slowly here to just try and cool the tires down and just bring everything back under control. They would have had one big push lap, everything's sliding around, and they're going to have another go. So here's Evans. He's shooting off down the start-finish straight towards the big, wide-open turn 1, looking down from the helicopter there. Rear of the car squirming around a little bit as we switch to Nico Müller in the apt. I mean, you have to say, Freins being the surprise of Group A, that is a bit of a benchmark here for Nico Müller.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch Nico, see whether he's got the same pace as his teammate has on this stage. So Nico Müller, who did end up on the front row with him in the wet in Berlin in qualifying some while ago this year. But yeah, he's put together a reasonable lap. But Pascal Wehrlein's done an even better first sector. Günther is on another pretty good lap as well. Let's just see what Nico Müller does then as he comes over the line, whether this improves on his 6th place. He stays in 6th place for now. Da Costa, who is currently down in 7th position. Can he find a little bit more pace on this one? I'm sure it's going to be, yeah, he does find a bit. Okay, so he's up into the top 4, but it's Pascal Wehrlein, his teammate, still quickest at this stage. No difference on that. In fact, it was pretty much the same lap time, wasn't it, I think, that he just did. So that's impressive from Wehrlein, but and he's got the pace at the moment over Max Günther.
Yeah, Günther's gone quicker though.
Yeah.
Günther's just snuck ahead by 29 thousandths of a second. Da Costa 4/10, nearly half a second down on his own teammate. Buemi not in yet, so he's down to 5th. About 5 minutes to go now. I expect to see most of these drivers start to come into the pits and switch to their 2nd set of tyres, which have been sitting in the pits and keeping cool. Well, relatively cool anyway, as cool as it can be in Indonesia, as René Rast has a big slide into turn 2.
Yeah, he corrected it okay, but that will have cost him a little bit of time. Buemi telling his team that the tyres went off pretty early on his fast lap. So clearly the heat, the high temperatures that we have in Jakarta is giving us a different qualifying session to what we've seen quite a lot this year. I've noticed that a lot this year, people have done plenty of laps and then done their quickest laps by the end of it. It's not the same here because it's so much heat involved and the tyres get too hot. This is an attacking lap from René Rast, the experienced racer, many-time German touring car champion. But I'm not sure this is quite going to come together for him.
Yeah, he's done a decent, first couple of sectors, but he is half a second down on Günther's pace. I mean, the top 2 are in a league of their own. Rast as a ball to the lap comes into the pit. So, yeah, as I was saying, Ben, the top 2, they really are a cut above everyone else in this group. 3.5 tenths to Evans. That's a significant margin in Formula E terms. We don't normally see such big gaps. And we'll see when we get on the final run whether that starts to close up a bit.
Yeah, and I think particularly, as you say, we can see whether Eden Motara, who's got up to 6th, despite not doing free practice earlier on today, except for sort of 3/4 of a lap before he did some damage. Norman Nato here, he's now down in 7th place in the Nissan. So whether he can find out a little bit of extra as we look down at the car that is fastest right now, the Maserati of Max Günther. He has been impressive all weekend so far, fastest in FP1 and in FP2. Is he going to continue this by being fastest in Group B and making sure that he gets into the duels? I have to say that's looking very likely he's going to be into the duels. Mitch Evans, though, he's 3rd currently. We saw Sam Bird miss out in Group A, but there is an opportunity for him. And Pascal Wehrlein, this is looking more promising for Pascal Wehrlein. He's been through a bit of a tough time. He was championship leader, obviously, in the earlier part of this season, but in recent times, Wehrlein has not had any very good qualifying sessions, really. The second Berlin race in the wet, he did a decent job. He was in the duels there, but he wasn't in the duels in Monaco, nor was he in the first race in Berlin and Sao Paulo as well. He didn't get into the duel. So it would be a key day for him if Pascal Wehrlein can get into the duel.
So David Beckman at the bottom of the times at the moment. He's the rookie, of course, as I mentioned before. So we'll see what he can do in this final run. But Buemi's gone a bit earlier than other people. He could do 2 laps, I think, if he got on with it. It's going to be a bit tight, but I think most likely everyone's just going to aim for 1 lap here.
Okay, well, let's see what he can do. He has out-qualified his teammate Nick Cassidy 6-3 this year, and it looks like he's got a good chance perhaps of out-qualifying him again, but let's wait and see. I mean, he's 5th at the moment, which is exactly where Cassidy was in Group A. It'll then depend effectively on who takes pole as to which way they get split at the end of all of this, but that will come up after the duels. But we are getting into the crucial stage now for Group B. We've got a top 4 right now, but that could all shift when they get onto their final flying lap to see who can make it into the top 4 and get into the quarterfinal.
Yeah, they're all messing around for position here, don't they? You know, they want to just be careful that they don't, for example, if you are Günther or Wehrlein, you don't want to get stuck in the queue behind Beckman, for example, you know, who's 2.5 off the pace at the moment. But Buemi has got nobody in front of him, and he's going to go set the early benchmark. Only 50 seconds to go on the clock as he started, and that means that he will only get 1 shot at this.
So it's a lovely onboard view, and watch that steering, see how much action there is now. He's trying to keep it smooth. Yeah, gets on the pad, a little bit of correction, a little bit of oversteer. Now this is a fast sweeper coming up.
Yep, bumpy as well. You could hear the car bottoming out as he tries to get the nose in, missed the apex by a little bit there for the left-hander, but managed to get a good line through this windy bit of the track as we come through 8, 9, 10, and now through 11, as the track now starts to speed up and open up, heading towards the turn 13 hairpin.
He's keeping it tidy. This is a good drive from Sebastian Buemi, but is it doing enough? His middle sector's not that great. He hasn't improved on what he'd already done in the middle sector, so actually that section wasn't his best. He's coming into the final turn now.
Yeah, as you said, man, no obvious mistakes, but it just hasn't been quick enough, has it? Middle sector, 1/4 of a second down. The last sector is a bit of an improvement, but I don't think that's going to be enough. He's 4th at the moment, but there are some big laps coming up behind him.
René Rast jumps up. Well done to René Rast. He goes 3rd. That's immediately pushed Buemi out. So Buemi is not in the duels. Neither of the 2 Envision cars, the team that's currently leading the team's championship in Formula E, neither of them are going to be in the duels. But what's going to happen up front? Let's see whether Max Günther goes even faster. He crosses the line. He is still looking in good shape. Mortara up into 4th, so maybe he can make it as well. Wehrlein is in good shape. Can Da Costa? No, he can't do it. He can't do it. And it's looking pretty much set. Let's just see whether Mitch Evans has got any more pace. It's not enough. And it looks as though it's all pretty settled. The top 4 places. I think in many ways the surprise there, René Rast in 3rd place. But well done to Max Günther, who has kept it 100% so far this weekend. He has been fastest in every session we have seen.
Yeah, that's a cracking lap from him. And he has actually done, I think, 3 laps there, which were all very similar lap time, weren't they? So He's clearly got into a good rhythm, a good flow around the circuit. Edo Mortara, good recovery for him. Less than 3/10 away now from Gunther, and that is a very good recovery for him.
No, they'll be very happy indeed, and well done to Max Gunther.
So we got both cars through. Okay, so we P1, and P4, so both cars went through.
That's impressive. When you've got both cars in the same group, it's always going to be anxious. So well done to Mortara as well, because of the problem he had in practice. It was busy out there, though. There's no doubt that when they were all lining up for that final kind of run, the track was getting pretty busy and down into the last section, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Bit of a traffic jam there. And you can see the two Porsches just trying to back the pack up, give each other space. But I think the teams factored that in, because when they all crossed the line, they all had a margin of sort of 30-odd seconds even towards the end. So, yeah, I don't think it was as tight for time as we've seen in other places.
Well, it's going to make for some very interesting situations in the duels here. We've got both Maseratis going into the duels, but we've got both DS Penske's as well from the other group. So teams are doing well in this. But Max Gunther, Pascal Wehrlein, René Rast and Eduardo Mortara have made it through from Group B and are going into the duels. So, an entertaining first part to qualifying, and it's all going to now build up once again as we get towards the next stage. Let's go down to the pit lane and down to Saunders.
Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, I'm here with James Rossiter from Maserati MSG Racing. A good show of pace so far today.
Yeah, great show. I mean, Max has been on fire from yesterday, really from the first green light. Amazing recovery, I have to say, from Edo's side of the garage. He hit the wall on his first lap this morning, didn't do any running at all in FP2, and to get through to the duels is quite...
Very, very few today, which I just said.
Hopefully you will get to hear what we're going to say now. James Rossiter, a very happy bunny, it has to be said. Nelson, you made a brilliant point to me off air about Jaguar.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this track was going to be more... But it showed clearly that the Jaguar powertrain over here is lacking a bit of grip. You know, 4 cars, the 2 Envision cars and the 2 Jaguar cars are out of the duels. So, I mean, that's more of a coincidence. I mean, it just means that they're missing something, a bit of grip, a bit of rear mechanical grip, as that's the part of the car which is different from everybody else's. So, you know, it does show that some of the teams, like Maserati, for example, that even Eduardo Mortara did miss second practice, he's in the duel. So, powertrains are making a big difference over here, giving drivers a bit more confidence in some cases, and others, you know, missing out on the duels.
Well, I'll just use your microphone for just a second there. And so it's Kelvin van der Linde. Very interesting situation in terms of powertrains. We do like that for Formula E. We like the fact that it's unpredictable, and we've seen a plot twist again.
Yeah, once again, so many variables out there. I mean, you have to say that Stellantis is looking very strong this weekend. Penske were very strong in the first qualifying, so you really see they've got something. It must be software, I can only imagine, that they've got something to give the drivers confidence around here. And yeah, we have to see how that develops now in the duels.
And now in terms of predicting what's going to happen here, Nelson, this is almost an impossible one, because coming into this, Mitch Evans was a number of our favourites to go all the way and possibly win this race. But 4 of the last 5 races have been won from outside the duels, so it's all still up for grabs.
Well, the most experienced drivers, I think, in the duel right now are the 2 DS drivers. So my bets are going to be one of the 2, because Jeff is very good in qualifying, so is Stoffel. So my bets would be in one of those 2 cars.
We also saw 3 Germans do very well. So will Team Germany continue things? Who knows how this is going to go? The duels will be kicking off very, very shortly, and this can come down to simply 2 1,000ths of a second. It is not to be missed, so do not go anywhere.
So we're getting all set for the quarterfinals to get underway in just a few moments' time. And in quarterfinals this time, we've got 2 teams with a pair of cars each against each other. It's not as if they're against other teams. So we've got the DS Penske team. We've got Jean-Eric Verne up against his teammate Stoffel van Dorn. And then we've got the Maserati team with Eda Mortara and Max Günther. They're going to be going up against each other. It's a funny one in a way, isn't it, Karun, to be fighting against your teammate in qualifying, trying to get through to the semi-final.
I always quite looking at the pit garages at that time, because the team folks don't know what to do, because whatever happens, they've won and they've lost, and it all gets a bit awkward. But listen, for the drivers, they want to beat their teammates, absolutely. They've never faced each other as teammates, Jean-Eric Vergne and Stoffel Vandoorne this year. Last year, of course, Vandoorne was with Mercedes, and they faced each other 3 times, Vandoorne beating Jev twice over there.
So here's the lineup. We've got Vergne and Vandoorne just heading down the pit lane at the moment. And then it's Freins versus Jake Dennis, René Rast versus Pascal Wehrlein, and then the 2 Maserati drivers. They'll be the last of the quarter-final runs to see who goes into the semi-finals, and of course the final, and who determines pole position for the first of the 2 rounds here in Jakarta this weekend. So lots to look forward to. Last pole for Stoffel Vandoorne was the Sao Paulo race this year. Jean-Eric Vergne, actually, funnily enough, his last pole, Jean-Eric Vergne, was here in Jakarta a year ago. So he hasn't had one this year. Predictors are favouring Vandoorne. Let's see whether that all works out.
Both drivers queuing up there. I think Jean-Eric Vergne is ahead in the queue. There was only 900 spent between them in the qualifying group stages. So super tight, very evenly matched, and they've now got 1 attempt to beat their teammate.
Yeah, so DS Automotive celebrating their 100th race in Formula E. And funnily enough, actually, DS Automotive, part of Stellantis, as is Maserati. So there is very much a connection in the powertrains between Maserati and DS Penske, and all 4 cars from those 2 teams are out in qualifying. But what we have seen, Karun, before, as they're on their outlap, qualifying is very much one aspect of Formula E. Racing this year is a very different aspect. It's so much, qualifying is about 1 lap, getting the most. They've got this additional power now that we're into quarterfinals. But when we get into the race, it's so much about storing your energy, holding it.
Yeah, exactly. And as I was saying before, the DS Penske cars, and I think similarly for the Maserati cars, when it's cooler and the track temperature is cooler, they do struggle a bit in qualifying to get the tires where they want. In these baking hot conditions, they're competitive, and they've got to think about that, because obviously the championship goes to a range of circuits, but at the moment what they're thinking about is how to get the tires in exactly the right temperature for this lap, as Jean-Eric Vergne comes through turn 18, and he's going to set the benchmark. As you said, Ben, they've been driving around in 300 kilowatt mode all through the group stages. Now they've got an extra 50 kilowatts. That means you arrive at that first braking zone just a little bit faster. So picking that first braking point is always a challenge.
It is. Vergne's keeping it pretty smooth so far. On the bottom right, you can see how Vandoorne is doing, and we've got a comparison in terms as they go through the various sectors here as to who's up and who's down. So at the moment, it is Vergne who has got the very slight advantage. Both are very experienced drivers, of course. Both are champions in Formula E.
Yeah, this is the strongest lineup, really, you'd have to say, on the grid. And thus far, no real obvious mistakes. Unbelievably close on the lap time comparison. Just 38 thousandths between them, but it's swung the other way by 39 thousandths now with Vandoorne ahead. So it is just super close between them.
Well, let's see how this all works out. It is a fantastic fight between Jean-Eric Vergne and Stoffel Vandoorne. Nothing really to choose between them, as you can see, 0.076, 0.082. With the moment, it's Vergne. So he sets the pace at a 1 minute 8.5. Now it's this final sector for Stoffel Vandoorne catching. He's almost on exactly the same lap time. Which one is going to go through to the semi-final? We'll find out as Stoffel Vandoorne goes over the line. Oh, and it's Vergne who just holds on in the end. And look at the smiles there. Oliver Turvey looking pretty happy about that, whoever wins. But Jean-Eric Vergne does take the victory in the first of the quarterfinals up against his teammate. But boy, that was close. Very, very rapid.
You'd have to say that they are incredibly evenly matched as a driver lineup in that team, aren't they?
So let's move on to the next head-to-head. It's Robin Freins versus Jake Dennis. And let's see, the predictor vote reckons very much that it's going to be Jake Dennis. Well, I understand that. Robin Fry surprised us all with the pace that he had in the group session. Here he is, on track right now. He's a talented driver, Robin. Whether he's going to have the pace in this car when it counts right now to get this flying single lap. Let's have a look. He goes over the line to start the flying lap now.
Bit of a squirm as he put the power down to start the lap. He's about 3/10 down on Jake Dennis in the group stages of qualifying, so I'd have to say I agree with that predictor vote. But listen, all it would take is one lockup from Jake Dennis, one little bit going offline, and he has got that extra power on this lap now, and all of a sudden Frines could be through. So let's see how the lap unfolds. Frines there, slightly wider line on the way into that left-hander of turn 7 than we've seen from other people. He's clearly confident that the dust has cleared away. We'll see. But at the moment, you have to say he's holding his own, Ben, in the comparison, although now just a 10th down.
A bit sideways again there. He had a bit of correction. It is only the second time that Robin's been in the duel this year. And, of course, that other time was when he took pole in the wet in Berlin. So it's still impressive that he's managed to get in such hot, dry conditions, that car, into quarter-final. But Jake Dennis does seem to have the advantage. And now, as we're getting further and further through the lap, you can see that gap is opening up. It looks like you predictors have got it right, because Robin Frines is over the line. He's done a 1:08.9, and we're looking at Jake Dennis going a fair bit quicker than that, just into the final corner.
Yeah, he's just got to close the lap out here now. He's over 3/10 up, nice and tidy at the last corner. Bit of understeer on the way in, and just puts the power down. This should be good enough for Jake Dennis.
Across the line he goes, 1:08.477, and Jake is into the semi-finals. He'll be up against Jean-Eric Verne. Jake Dennis has taken the spot, but Robin Frines, I think, has done a great job here, and that still means he's going to be well up on the grid when it comes to the race a little bit later on today. So that's the second of the quarter-finals. The third quarter-final will be getting underway in just a few minutes' time. Then head-to-head between René Rast and Pascal Wehrlein, and the predictor vote saying it's very much about the man who was leading the championship earlier this year, Pascal Wehrlein. But let's not discount René Rast, because again, he put in a tremendous lap in his group session. Another very experienced driver, and although Jake Hughes has kind of outdone him a little bit this year, we know René Rast has got what it takes. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, the McLarens have been good in qualifying. He was a 1/10.5 slower in the group stages when compared to Wehrlein, so we'll see how this unfolds. Pretty tidy into turn 1. Now coming through 2 and 3. The long doubled right-hander there. Now the track starts to open up as he comes through 4. Bit of bouncing around those bumps there. Pascal Wehrlein now, so he's further behind on track, and he's just coming through turn 1. He uses a slightly wider line through 2 and 3. You can see a bit of dust kicking up there. As we join Rast now in the middle sector. Wehrlein, quarter of a second up on René Rast. So that is a huge chunk of time just in the first sector of the lap.
Yeah, that's right. Wehrlein's got it together extremely well. René Rast is pushing on, but I'm not sure he's going to have the pace that he needs to have here to beat Pascal Wehrlein. And as you predictors pointed out, it's looking more and more likely that Pascal Wehrlein is going to be the one going through to the next stage, to the semi-final. René Rast is out of the last corner. He's not really made any mistakes, I don't think, but I'm not sure the McLaren has quite the pace that the Porsche has. The Porsche is working well. We saw it so strong in the early part of the season, particularly in race form. Struggled a bit in qualifying form, even when he was scoring lots of points in the races, but it's looking stronger today. There's no doubt. Across the line, it's a big advantage for Pascal Wehrlein. So Wehrlein is into the second of the semi-finals, and Porsche are happy about that. They've got a good bit of progress, and we know there's good usual race pace in that car as well.
Good job, dude. Good job. That's us 3.
René Rast will be disappointed with that, Ben. He's gone slower in the duel with more power than he did in the group stages by a couple of tenths. So you can see Ian James there on screen. You can understand why he doesn't look particularly pleased, because that's a long way off what he should have done in that part of the session.
And now we've got another team battle, Max Günther and Edo Mortara, and the predictor vote going very much for Max Günther, who has been strong all weekend. He's been fastest in every session so far. Is he going to continue that by being fastest against his teammate? I gather, actually, when we had the teammates out earlier, I've just heard from on radio, Jean-Eric Verne actually apologised to Van Dorn for beating him, but one of them had to win, so you can't do anything about that with your teammate when you're up against them. Only one of you can win. Mortara is the first on track, setting the pace. So remember, he didn't get to do free practice earlier on today properly because he made contact with the wall and might make him a bit more careful, whereas Gunter's been on it all the time.
Yeah, he's unbeaten so far in this weekend. And Mortara, big slide there into 7. So I expect to see that time comparison swing by quite some margin by the time Gunter gets to turn 7. As the team watches on, you can see in the bottom right box there as Mortara now heading up towards the turn 13 hairpin. Gets the nose in. He doesn't seem to have lost that much time to go. Oh, no, there it is, the half second. I was sort of waiting, but Gunter's clearly just got to turn 7. Right, I wonder if they'll get on the radio to Gunter here and just say, look, you're a long way ahead, just close the lap out, because he can be pretty safe and still end up ahead of Mortara now.
No need to take risk, I don't think. Mortara's done slightly, well, yeah, but we haven't seen Gunter into the second part yet, so let's just wait and see. A 1 minute 8.7, I think we're going to see Mats Gunter going faster than that. There's no doubt about it. As long as he doesn't make a big mistake, come out of the corner, don't hit the wall on the outside. Yeah, no, he's all driving this beautifully under control. It's a 1 minute 8.4, and sure enough, it is Mats Gunter who has taken it through to the semi-final. He's going to be up against Pascal Wehrlein in the next one, but he's on great form this weekend. There's no doubt about it. Good to see this. His best grid position, second on the grid in Cape Town this year, that is. He's in the past had some good qualifying performances. He never had pole though. He's qualified second on 5 occasions in his Formula E career, but he's never had pole. And I have to say, today could be an opportunity for that.
It's got to be his best chance, hasn't it? I mean, this is what I really like about this qualifying format is you get that, you know, that result every few minutes there throughout these duels. But also now, Ben, you create this filter where the cream rises. You know, the top 4 that we see in the semis have all done a lap within a 1/10.5 of each other. All 4 cars held by just, you know, one and a half tenths, which is brilliant.
Well, that's how it's all worked through the quarterfinals. We're going to get ready now for the semi-finals. Jean-Eric Verne against Jake Dennis. Pascal Wehrlein up against Max Gunter. Well, semi-final getting underway in a little few minutes now. It's going to be very exciting indeed. Let's get back down to the pit lane and back to Radzi.
Thank you very much. Fascinating quarterfinals there in the duels. And kicking off, lads, Porsche, Pascal Wehrlein, we asked a big question, how will he handle being usurped in the championship? The answer is very well. He's got his first win in any duels this season, Calvin.
Absolutely amazing, and we know the Porsches race well, so that's a big confidence boost for him. That's what we want to see for the championship. It's going to make it exciting, especially with Nick Cassidy being out. So I think for Pascal, he's got it all to win really in the qualifying, and it'll give him confidence knowing that he's got a good race car as well.
He takes on Gunter in the second of the semi-finals. James Roster guaranteed to have a car on at least this second row. In terms of the other semi-finals, Dennis and Jev. Jev behind us here, he's a happy bunny. Jean-Eric Verne, could it be history repeating itself? He took pole in Jakarta last season.
Well, like I said, I think we have a very experienced driver, very quick driver. In these conditions, for qualifying duels, Jev has been always very strong. The team is very strong. My bets are still on him. It's going to be tough for him, but with his experience and his talent, I think he's going to go through to the finals.
Talking about Jake Dennis, he's going to have to better him. Jake Dennis has turned things around. The momentum's in his favour. 2 podiums in the last 2 races and producing it in duels that he historically doesn't necessarily like.
Yeah, I think great to see Jake up there as well. I think it will be important for him. We've spoken about it enough. Probably the qualifying, probably the most important one of the season. So Jake will want to be up there. He's in the semi-finals, so he'll definitely be under the top 6. And that's exactly what he wants, especially for his championship fight.
So you're guaranteed to be on the second row. Do you now roll the dice of destiny? Do you basically just go all out? Or do you actually think, no, I really would like to get through potentially to the final?
I would keep it together, keep it safe. The main rivals in the championship are starting behind for qualifying, so keep it safe, keep the car in one piece, because you have a long race ahead of you later today, and starting in the first 2 rolls, 3 rolls of the race, it is already avoiding a lot of the mess that is going to happen. most of the times to the middle of the back of the field. You don't want to be in that area. So just by being in the top 3 bros over there, it is very important. So just keep it safe and focus on the race now.
Kelvin, we love duels. It's so close. It's so unpredictable.
It really is. I mean, that's what we live for. That's what Formula E is about. But nonetheless, we know it's about the race. That's where the points get really handed out. So, we've got an exciting final coming up. I'm really excited.
Exciting final, exciting 2 semi-finals. So let's hand back to commentary.
Yeah, this is going to be fun, seeing how the semi-finals develop and who is going to get through to the final head-to-head shootout for the battle in pole position. That's going to be fun to see. And Jean-Eric Vergne and Jake Dennis, that's going to be a big battle, but we've heard that Jake Dennis is feeling pretty confident about being Jean-Eric Vergne. We shall see. So just waiting to see how this goes with the first of the 2 semi-finals. And Jean-Eric Vergne has such experience, of course, a great winner in the world of Formula E, but Jake Dennis has got good pace himself. And we're going to see the semi-final start in just a few minutes' time. Now the build-up, now this adrenaline build-up is even bigger, isn't it, for these guys?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, but, as you said, Ben, Jean-Eric Vergne, tremendously experienced. It's his 9th semi-final appearance, which is a Formula E record. And he's there, eyes closed, just trying to put his thoughts together in terms of visualizing the lap ahead and where he's going to try and improve just a little bit on what he's done in the quarterfinals. That's what they've got to do, is just not try and reinvent the wheel and find 0.4 of a second here. They just, make sure you just chip away as the track improves, and not make any mistakes, crucially.
There's Jake Dennis then just getting ready to go. No poles to his experience just yet. We saw Stoffel Van Dorn being beaten by his teammate a little bit earlier. Let's hear from him with Saunders.
So Stoffel Van Dorn, a pretty fierce battle there with your teammate in the duels. So close.
Yeah, it was very close between us. I think we've been quite competitive all week so far. So yeah, we had to fight it out together with Jeff in the duels. It was very tight, a few hundreds between us, but yeah, I don't know exactly where we're going to end up, but I feel like if we're close to the top 5, we should have a good race from there.
So we've seen on plenty of occasions people win from 6th, 7th, 8th. Dealing with the same case here, or maybe different?
I think it's going to be a little bit different around here. The level of energy saving is maybe not as much as it has been in the last 3 races, let's say. And I think overtaking in general will be a little bit tougher, but I think the guy that is leading is still going to suffer a little bit. So yeah, it's Formula E, there's always action.
I can see how physically demanding it is. I can see the sweat on your forehead. You've still got the cool vest on. I mean, how are the conditions?
Yeah, it's very, very humid out there. This track is actually very small for Formula E, and you're always busy behind the wheel. So, we're kind of always busy. And yeah, I think the race is going to be quite tough for everyone.
Thanks, Tough.
Thanks.
Yes, it's good to hear that he's got plenty to look forward to, but we've got the battles coming up, the head-to-head contests that everybody is getting ready for right now. And Jean-Eric Vergne, in fact, if Jean-Eric Vergne can manage to win not just this semi-final, but then go into the final and take victory, then he could get to 16 pole positions in his career, which would then equal him again with Sebastian Buemi. These two are always kind of swapping the top steps, whether it's victories or pole positions or leading races, that sort of thing. Jean-Eric Vergne, of course, double champion, and lots of those positions he has at the top of the scale. But it's not going to be easy, because Jake Dennis is showing great pace here this weekend, and he has shown us that in qualifying, particularly, that McLaren has been a quick car on several occasions this year. He still hasn't had a pole position to his credit yet, though. Best grid position was that 2nd place in Mexico, which he went on to win. So at the start of the season, very effective for Jake Dennis. Let's see whether he can repeat that sort of performance here today.
Yeah, he was utterly dominant in Mexico, which seems a very long time ago, back in January. And he, followed that up with some strong results in Saudi Arabia, but a bit like Verline, really. The season started off extremely strongly, and then it's not quite been as strong. Although I think in Dennis's case, it's a bit more down to bad luck. then it has to be Verline.
So we will see how this works out. We've got Vern and Dennis, Verline and Günther, and then going into the finals, we shall see how everybody works it out. Whoever is on pole out of this group will be the 8th different pole sitter in 10 races this year. This is the first semi-final then, coming up. It's Vern versus Dennis, and the predictor vote says that Jake Dennis is going to beat Jean-Eric Vern. Let's see if that's the case. Jake is confident. I think he's got real confidence in his car, but you've got to get it right on the day when you get out there.
Well, he's 3-0 down, isn't he, as we saw in that graphic, to Jev in the duel head-to-head so far, so he'll be desperate to try and fix that. Jev looking cool, hands on top of the cockpit, just waiting to get going. So here we go. Jean-Eric will be the first car on track, and he will be the one setting the benchmark for Jake Dennis.
So DS Penske celebrating their 100th Formula E. It's the DS Automotive part of that group that is celebrating their 100th Formula E-Prix. And that is their opportunity, maybe, to actually start from pole position. But to do that, they're going to have to beat this car. And that is the Andretti that Jake Dennis has performed well and is very much a front runner in the championship. They're both in the top 5 in the championship standing, so they are, you know, scoring well throughout the year. Jake Dennis is currently 3rd on 96 points. Jean-Eric Vern is on 87 points. In between them, funnily enough, in 4th place, Mitch Evans, but Mitch has not made it into this final stage. They are title contenders throughout this season if it continues like this. Up front, Nick Cassidy out of the top group this weekend, not in the duels, but Pascal Wehrlein, as we know, he's going to be in the next semi-final, so there is going to be a big chance there for Pascal. Right, build-up lap and getting ready to go for it flat out.
Here we go, unleashing the power there as he comes out of the final corner. Really nice, tidy exit there, 350 kilowatts being unleashed as he moves over to the left-hand side for the braking zone at turn 1. That's a pretty good run through there, no real corrections, uses lots of road as he comes out, and clearly that dust is moved away. So that seems like a pretty committed effort from Jean-Eric Vern, but we'll see as Jake Dennis now riding on pole width in the bottom right corner of your screen, and so far at the first corner, only 32 thousandths between them.
Yeah, it's usually once we get a little further into the lap that we begin to see some differences. There was quite a lot of work going on the steering wheel there from Jean-Eric Vern.
Yeah, nearly 3/10 now. So clearly that Andretti car power with the Porsche powertrain working very well for Jake Dennis. He was only 400ths, Ben, faster than Jean-Eric Vern in the quarterfinals. So I don't know if Vern just didn't have the confidence in the car. Again, didn't look like he made a massive mistake, but he just doesn't seem to be attacking as much as Jake Dennis is, and now nearly 4/10 down on Jev.
Yeah, I don't think that Jean-Eric Vern's going to manage to take this. We're on board with Jake Dennis now, who's putting together an excellent lap, and this is working very well. As long as he can get the final section done, the final quarter, he's neat and tidy out of that, not getting too near the wall, over the line, and Jake Dennis is into the final. Well done to Jake Dennis into the final. The battle for pole position is very much on for him. Man who was on that front row in Mexico earlier this year. But this is a tremendous achievement once again for Jake Dennis, and it picks up his opportunities to fight for the championship. He had a tough time at one stage.
Yes. Well done, mate. 3.5 tenths once again, mega job, mega.
So he's guaranteed to start on the front row, which is great to get his World Championship battle back on track. Jev was actually 2.5 tenths slower, Ben, in that semi-final than he was in the quarters. So, yeah, definitely a performance that he'd be a little bit disappointed with there.
The next semi-final, Pascal Wehrlein up against Max Günther. Predictor vote saying that Max Günther's more likely. 63% of you are reckoning that he's going to take it. Let's have a look then to see if this works. The Porsche power certainly worked in the Andretti, didn't it? Let's see whether the Porsche power works in the Porsche itself here of Pascal Wehrlein. But we know that Max Günther with the Maserati, here we are on board with Max Günther with the Maserati. This has been rapid in every session so far. It's been fastest in every practice and every qualifying part that we've had up to now. second semi-final. Is he going to be able to do it again? Pascal Wehrlein, very knowledgeable, going well at this stage, not getting too sideways.
Yeah, it's a great camera angle there for Maserati. You could see just the movement on the front suspension as we see Wehrlein coming through turn 13. He's a little bit down, about a 1/10 of a second down on Gunther's time so far, and that has extended to just over a 10. So Gunther putting together a very nice lap here once again as we see Wehrlein coming into the final corner. He's now over a 1/4 of a second down on Gunther's time. So up the line, we're going to get the benchmark here from Pascal Wehrlein. He does a 108.6, which is okay. A little bit slower, in fact, than what he did in the previous round.
But this is a great chance for Max Günther. This really is. That's quite a big difference. And Max Günther, who has been fastest in every session so far, is over the line, and he's done it on 108.271. Max Günther is into the final. Are we going to see Max take his first ever pole position here today? I tell you what, the way he's putting it together right now, that's got to be a huge opportunity. He's now been quickest in FP1, FP2.
Yes, mate. We drove by almost 4/10. Scenario 2 and acknowledge.
And in group qualifying and in his duels so far as well. He's 100% record of being fastest in every session. Well done to Max Günther. And he's got one more battle to go, and that's going to be with Jake Dennis. I think this could be quite a close one.
Yeah, it's going to be pressure's on them. But I mean, Gunther's just been on such a run of form. It'll be a massive upset, I think, at this stage if Dennis does beat him in this final, Ben, because you know, Gunther's just been sublime all day long. You know, he's a 10th faster than the time that Dennis did in that semi-final round. So we'll see when we get to the final if he can replicate that pace and whether Dennis can improve.
So the 25-year-old Max Günther, who has got a chance of taking his first pole position. Is it going to work for him? Only 12th in the championship at the moment on 24 points, which just indicates it's been a bit of a tough time. Jake Dennis, who is currently 3rd in the championship on 96 points, getting on the front row is crucial to him. But remember, an extra 3 points goes to whoever gets pole position, and that could be very useful in his championship battle. Because that would give him, if he was an extra 3 points, it would put him on to 99. He'd be only 2 points behind Pascal Wehrlein. So pole position here today, worth a lot.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Gunther's not really in the championship fight, but Dennis is firmly in that. So you're absolutely right. An extra 3 points would be a massive, massive bonus for him.
Well, let's wait and see what happens when the two cars do come out for the final part of qualifying and that battle for pole position. And it does, as ever, we've got a real mix of drivers that are going to be up at that top end of the grid. Different teams as well, although as I say that, you know, Maserati and DS Penske have qualified well. The question is, are they going to have the race pace? That is sometimes a very different story. Well, we'll find out that more when we get into the race later on today. But for now, it is all about the battle for pole position. We're going to see Jake Dennis going up against Max Günther very soon. So there we are. The temperatures are rising. The adrenaline is rising as well. We've got under 6 minutes. Let's go back down to Radzi.
Well, Jake Dennis, Max Günther in the final, mouth-watering. Not many people have predicted that one. And Kelvin, first of all, Jake Dennis, there's something going on with that Porsche powertrain. Pascal got through to the semi-finals. That was his second ever win in this year in terms of duels. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's great to see them back. You have to say that I think it is due to the hotter conditions. In Saudi, they were just as strong, in India as well. So I definitely think these conditions do suit them, and great to see them up there. I think it's really important for the championship, for Jake especially. Whenever he's qualified up front, he's been able to convert that. So I think it's a very good omen for him.
Yeah, and to that point, so Jake Dennis this season has either been podium or 0 points, and he's setting himself up to potentially get a podium. What a momentum shift for him.
It's amazing because we're coming up to that point of the championship where you need to be up there up front. Most of his championship rivals are going to be starting far back. So he has a huge chance now of catching Nick Cassidy, catching a lot of points, and being really close to the fight. If he doesn't leave this weekend, leading the championship. So great to see him in this form, and he's done a fabulous work till now.
He really has. Kelvin, it's great to have you here. You're going to be here all weekend. You watched the qualifying very much with Abt Cupra. What do you learn from that experience? We watched it on the monitor like a viewer would do, but not with yourself. What should we know about that?
Yeah, I think I just really get a behind the scenes of what the current issues or topics are over the race weekend. We've seen so many different issues coming up at different race weekends. This weekend is no different. We have completely different balance changes to what we've had in the past, and I think that really signals that Formula E, you have to be so adaptable. Every weekend you have to be willing to take risks on setup. There's not a lot of time between practice, qualifying, and the races, so you need to be taking risky moves to maybe move up the field, especially when things are not really going well. That we've seen again. I mean, there's where the surprises come out. Abt Cupra doing a great job with one car in the duel, so it's great to see that, follow that from my side, and obviously try and bring that across to you guys.
And just very quickly, in terms of Max Günther, we'd love to see him convert to race situation. He's got a final ahead of him. Can he get his first ever pole?
Let's hope so. I mean, he has nothing to lose. He's not really fighting for the championship. I think it would mean a lot for him, for the team, to get finally his first pole position. The package is there. I mean, he's been showing results since practice, always doing very well. Very calm into the qualifying, the duels, winning all of them. So let's see. I mean, I'm cheering for him. He's a good driver. He has a good package, so let's see if they finally can get their first pole position.
So without further ado, we can hand back to our commentary team because it's game on for the final of the first duels here in Jakarta.
This is going to be very interesting to see whether Max Günther is going to be able to take that pole position he wants so much. Looking down over the Jakarta circuit now as we're in a slight moment of build-up and pause before we get out in the fight for qualifying and the fight for pole position. There is Jake Dennis then, who is looking also for an opportunity to take pole position, a man who is fighting in the championship and never had a pole position. Whoever gets pole position out of him and Max Günther, we have a new pole sitter in the world of Formula E. Put your predictor in as well, see who's going to be on top, and you've got to say at the moment, the way that Max Günther in the blue Maserati has been going throughout all of the sessions so far here this weekend, he is the favourite in many ways, but Jake Dennis is an operator and he could deliver a special lap.
Yeah, I just don't know which way to call this, to be honest, because you've got, as you say, Günther's the form man, but it's very hard to rule out Jake Dennis in a Porsche powertrain car this season. You know, they've super tight. I'd like to see Max get it because I think it's a nice story to see him you know, finish the sweep of the weekend that he's had so far. And but yeah, listen, who knows?
Well, we shall find out. We do know that the pole sitter has not won any of the last 12 races, so that's going back into last year's championship as well, and only has one podium finish in that time. So funnily enough, although we quite rightly get very excited about who's getting pole position, and there are useful points for whoever does, and starting up front, it always means a lot. But in recent races, it has not been a pole position driver that has then gone on to take victory. 12 races without a pole position driver taking a victory. That seems amazing in many ways, but it shows up the scale, the style of Formula E racing at this time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think ultimately, from a sporting motor racing perspective, we all get excited about qualifying because it's you know, the ultimate test of speed, and it's a real challenge mentally for the drivers as well to focus on extracting maximum performance in that one lap. But when it gets to the races, you know, you're talking about a strategic battle where it's energy management and the hardware you've got in terms of the, you know, the action motors and the energy recovery systems, as well as the software. All of that comes into play. But this is, you know, in many ways, this is still a pure out-and-out lap here that they've got to deliver on.
So head-to-head in a duel in the past, Jake Dennis has the 1-0 advantage over Max Günther, but the predictor vote says it's Max Günther that is going to be the winner on this occasion. This is certainly going to be a close one, I think, between the two of them. Unless one makes a mistake, you're only going to get that one flying lap, and it'll be Jake Dennis who goes onto the track first to start setting the various points. Here we go then, the battle for pole position for the Gulavit Jakarta E-Prix is underway because Jake Dennis is on track in the Avalanche Andretti, and in just a few moments' time, Max Günther will be out there in the Maserati as well. Both have delivered tremendous lap time so far, but which one is going to become a first-time pole sitter in Formula E? We're about to find out.
Yeah, that's it. That is the story, isn't it? Whatever happens, we're going to have a new pole sitter in the World Championship. So that is, yeah, that's great on its own. So the drivers now, they're all thinking about just where their tire temperatures are, where their brake temperatures are. They want to make sure that when they get to that first corner at the end of the long straight, they've got everything in a predictable manner underneath them. So when they go for the brake pedal, the car slows down and gets to their apex in a way that they expect. So that then gives them the confidence that they've got a car that's working for the rest of the lap. If the car does something strange on the first corner of a qualifying lap, it kind of spooks you. It really hurts your confidence for the rest of the lap.
Well, let's see how it goes then. And we are about to find out as Jake Dennis takes to the line and goes off at top speed down into turn 1. Get the braking done late, but make sure you don't run too wide. First start's all right.
Yeah, it looks pretty good for him there, and got a decent run out of the corner as well, seesawing a little bit at the wheel, but that's as much about the bumps as it is about the grip around the place. So close to the wall as he came out of turn 5. Pretty neat and tidy into 7 and now into 8. 7 thousandths of a second between them in that early part, but Günther now starting to stretch his legs.
So let's see, it's looking good at the moment for Günther. Jake Dennis might not quite make it. He has had pole, sorry, my mistake earlier, in the past, none this year. So he has had some pole positions in the past, but this is still a chance to get his first for this year. But Max Günther's on for his first ever pole position. Jake Dennis is not there though. Look at the gap in time. 0.368 is the gap, and it's not looking as though Jake Dennis is going to get his first pole of this year and back up what he's done in the past, but he's still going to be starting from the front row. All that Max Günther has to do is do the final part of the lap cleanly, smoothly, and it looks as though he is going to take his first ever pole position in Formula E. Over the line he goes, he's done it. Max Günther takes pole position for the Maserati team. Celebrations down there in the pit lane, and well done to Max Günther. He's been on the front row on 5 occasions in the past, but that top spot is now his, and that will be a real key moment.
It's been a great qualifying by him. He's, as I was saying before, it's about chipping away and improving just that little bit, and he's done that. You know, he's at every part of this qualifying.
Come on, mate. That's pole position, 3.5 tenths. Scenario 2 and acknowledge. 2 and acknowledge. Don't take any margin on the in-lap, okay?
And on every step, he's just improved that little bit. You know, he did an 8.40, an 8.27, now an 8.1. And he's just found his rhythm around the circuit in a way that nobody else has.
Yeah, that was superb. So he's kept that 100% record through every single session here today, and yesterday's the first free practice session. Nobody has quite managed to do what he has done.
Thanks for the great log, guys. Let's keep it up.
And yeah, he's very happy with what the team have delivered. Whether they're going to have that race pace, we will find out a little bit later on today, but he will be starting from the top spot, and he has that in his credit now. Very well deserved. And Jake Dennis, I think, will still be knowing that the chance for him to score more points is going to be very, very good as well. Edo Mortara there, no doubt celebrating with the team a little bit, even though he didn't make it through to that final stage. But Max Günther scored himself 3 points extra in the championship. Won't actually move him up from 12th place in the points. He is some 4 points behind Stoffel van Dorn in the championship at the moment. Stoffel is currently 11th, Günther is 12th. But the 3 points will still be valuable to him and to the team as well. So that always helps. And actually it will help Maserati as a team, because it will put them ahead of Nissan, funnily enough, in the team's championship. There's only a point between the two at this stage. 7th place for Nissan, 8th place for Maserati, and that means that they have now gone ahead into 7th position. High temperatures, but nonetheless, he's managed to keep it cool when it mattered out there on track. He looks very composed and very steady about it all, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's just dealt with the entire day in a very calm and mature way, and I think that is paid dividends, really. You know, I think, as I said, they've had a pretty tough start to the season with incidents and DNFs, and including last time out in Monaco, they came back with 0 points after, I think Max started 4th on the grid there. And the team were really disappointed to come away with no points. So they've now got to build on. I don't think they yet have the race pace and race performance, but if he could come away, maybe if not with a win, but at least with a top 5 finish, or maybe a podium, I think they should be very happy with that.
Yeah, indeed. And get some points out of it. Let's see whether that actually does happen for them. So his car just being pushed out of the way at the moment. And then want to keep that as immaculate as possible as we start the build-up towards the race already. It all happens quickly in Formula E. There's not much waiting around, not much chance to take everything apart and put it back together again. Only a few hours after qualifying, you're straight into the race. The grid from the back, Roberto Meri and Lucas Di Grassi, they'll be starting on the very final row of the grid. Jake Hughes in the McLaren and David Beckman making his debut in the sport as well on the next row. On row 9, Sergio Sette Camera and Norman Nato in the Nissan. And on row 8, we've got Sam Bird in the Jaguar. That'll be a bit disappointing for him. Antonio Felix da Costa in the Porsche as well. That's surprising they're so far down. Dan Ticktum, 14th. Sebastian Buemi starting 13th place. Just outside the top 10, Sasha Fenestres and Mitch Evans are next up. Into the top 10, we do have championship leader Nick Cassidy starting 10th. Nick Muller is 9th, just ahead of him. And then we have Robin Freins and Rene Rast on the 4th row of the grid. Good effort that from Robin Freins in particular. 3rd row, Stoffel van Dorn. 5th, Eduardo Mortara is 6th. And on the 2nd row, we have 2 potential race winners, Pascal Wehrlein, Jean-Eric Verne. But on the front row, with his first ever pole position, is Max Günther, and Jake Dennis is alongside, and we've seen him take victory already this year. Let's see whether he can do it again, this time from the front row, as he did, in fact, in Mexico. It was the same starting position for him there that he went on to take that victory that started the season. So we shall find out whether he can do the same again. It has been an excellent day for him so far, even if he didn't beat Max Günther. But Max Günther, really great stuff. First time he's taken a pole position in his own single-seater history since 2017 in Formula 3 European Championship at Hockenheim. And he's had reverse grid poles in Formula 2, but that's slightly different, of course. So to earn the qualifying pole, last time he did that was back in 2017. But we've seen good performances from him, just missed out a couple of times when it's come to getting that top spot in qualifying. So many congratulations. Let's go down and hear from him right now.
Congratulations, your first ever pole position in Formula E.
Yeah, it feels great. You know, I had a few front rows now, and now to be the first time on pole position is an amazing feeling. I think, yeah, great for the 3 points and to have this position for today.
Talk to us about that final, because it looked tense, and obviously the conditions are making things harder and harder just to be in the car.
Yeah, you can see me sweating a bit. It's quite hot out there, and yeah, you know, I had a good feeling all day so far, as well yesterday. You know, smooth sessions. We were just building it up more and more, and yeah, for sure, you know, tires are an important factor in this condition. Yeah, lots of management as well, what I expect later on in the race. So yeah, great first step, and now focus on the race.
Based on the challenging season you've had so far, what does this mean to you? It must be a real lift.
Absolutely, you know, like definitely the momentum has changed already a few races ago. You know, we had the podium in Berlin, scored good points there. As well, Monaco was a great day. We just couldn't finish the race, unfortunately, but you know, today or this weekend, yeah, it's just continuing in a good shape.
So quickly, just tell us what happens now. How do you manage this race?
Well, you know, this year it's a lot about energy management, more than ever, I think, in Formula E. So you have to play it smart. You know, you have to see a bit how the race is unfolding. For sure, it's good to be in the front. Yeah, you know, I take it from there. For sure, we come up with a good strategy.
Well, now it's time to get your trophy, and doing that would be Visang Yang, the group head of Southeast Asia for Julius Baer, to present the pole position trophy.
So congratulations indeed to Max Günther for taking the Julius Baer pole position in Jakarta. And his first ever pole. And let's see what he can do later on when it comes to the race. This is the 110th ever Formula E race, and the second year that Formula E has come to Indonesia, and now he has managed to take that top spot on the grid. But whether he's going to be able to convert it into a really top solid point scoring position, we're going to have to find out a little bit later on. But nonetheless, a great job done by him here today, and well deserved. And of course Jake Dennis, who ended up on the front row as a result of that, I think he's still going to be pretty happy. Jake Dennis was actually finished in 6th place here last year, so that was a decent run for him. He had started in 5th, he'll be starting from 2nd though this time. He's got some good opponents behind him, the likes of Pascal Wehrlein, of course, tucked in on that 2nd row. Pascal, one of the major championship contenders as well, so there could be some close fights there. And you've got to think that Nick Cassidy is going to be feeling a little bit left out of all that, because he's outside that lead group.
Yeah, not only that, he's in a danger zone, isn't it? You know, when you get to that first corner, that's a big risk for the championship contenders. If they're starting in the midfield, they're surrounded by all sorts of cars with much less to lose than they've got, and then you start to go into front wing damage and little incidents, and we see this all the time in Formula E. You know, you've got to be so careful not to get tripped up in any of these little incidents.
Nice to see the fans enjoying themselves though, giving themselves a little bit of cooling air if possible. It is pretty warm, but it's lovely to see a good crowd. We had a good crowd in Jakarta last year as well, getting up to around 60,000 people, so hopefully something similar when it comes to the races here this weekend. 2 races, of course, rounds 10 and 11. So whatever has been picked up and learnt today will also be moving forward into tomorrow and round 11. So that is something that I think Max Günther will be feeling very good about. If he can keep his 100% record so far of being fastest in every session, we'll see how that works tomorrow. But I do think in the race it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, because the race pace of that Maserati this year so far has not been quite so impressive. Whether they're able to not store the energy in quite the same way that some of the other teams are in the early stages, but we'll find out a little bit more later on when they actually get off the line. So that's going to be very, very fascinating indeed. Teams themselves now just beginning to prepare. Now they know where they're going to be starting the race from, so they can get their heads around the sort of software, everything that will be needed to get organised for the start of the race itself here in Jakarta.
So Jake Dennis, good qualifying performance, your first front row, or first top 4 since Mexico. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I didn't really expect it coming into here. You know, I think lately I don't think a Porsche's really qualified in the top 10. So to be starting on the front row is a lot of hard work. To be honest, has gone into it, especially over our qualifying car. We know we have a great race car, but really qualifying is where we've been struggling. And to turn it around, start in the front row, honestly, Max was in a different level this weekend, over 1 lap especially. So full credit to him. But yeah, super pleased to be starting P2, and hopefully we can have a really good race.
In the past few races, you've often left yourself quite a lot of work to do in the races, so it must feel extra special, extra better being where you are now, knowing the car you have behind the wheel.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have the edge over generally the Maseratis and the DSs, and obviously they're all starting near the front as well. I've obviously got my Porsche friend behind me in P3, so I need to obviously keep him in check, but it's going to be a really difficult race for us drivers, the battery, the car, the tyres, so really who can control this the best will definitely come out on top. But I'm feeling confident, I'm feeling really good in the car at the moment, and hopefully we can score a win, or if not a podium.
So is the win on?
I'm aiming for a win. I'll be disappointed in anything less than a podium. I really feel like I have the car to do it, and I'm feeling fit, so yeah, I'm ready for it.
Nice one, thank you, Jake.
Well done to Jake Dennis, but enormous congratulations to Maserati and to Max Günther. What a performance that was. He showed so much promise in FP1, so much promise in FP2, and delivered in the duels. And I'm delighted to be joined by James Roster, team principal for Maserati. You must be a very happy man right now.
Yeah, incredibly happy. I mean, Max has been on fire from the first green light yesterday, fastest in every session, and yeah, managed to achieve our first pole position of the season.
In the quarterfinals, when you find out it's Maserati versus Maserati, how do you take that? Do you think we get a guaranteed semi-final, but one person has to go out?
Yeah, I mean, when Edo was on his lap in the groups, I was praying for him to be second or third, and yeah, it was great to get them both through. But yeah, when you go to head-to-head like that, it's difficult. And he was super fast as well. He made a small mistake in one corner. He lost 3/10. I think other than that, it was going to be incredibly close between two of them, which is amazing considering he missed the whole of FP2.
And just a word for your team as well, because it was jubilant scenes once that result came through. You can just see what it means to everyone.
Yeah, they've all been working so hard. I mean, from Monaco, we really put in a long shift. We looked into every little area for every tiny little ounce of performance, and it seems to be paying off.
The big question is conversion to race. Can you do it?
It's something that we've been working hard on. I mean, I think that we've learned a huge amount. We definitely learned what not to do, so so hopefully we can get it right this time.
Is there a sense of redemption as well? Because in this season there's been a lot of frustration, a lot of bad luck, and it seems as though this is coming at the business end of the season. Possibly heads could dip with a bad performance, but instead you've turned the momentum around.
I think, you know, in difficult times you have two options. You can fall apart, or you can galvanise the team. You can pull everyone together. You can work hard, and you can dig yourselves out. And that's exactly what they've all done here. The men and women here, we all came together. We fought hard, and we're fighting our way out of this.
Well, thank you very much for your time, James. Massive congratulations. And talking about Team Maserati, it's basically going to be a Maserati celebration for the course of the next few minutes. We can head over to the pad right now, who's with Oliver Askew, and we're talking about none other than pole sitter Maximilian Günther.
Max, congratulations, first of all. Fantastic lap, 3.5 tenths up on your rival, Jake Dennis, there in the final. Let's talk us through this lap.
Sure. Let's see if we can find a few more tenths.
Yeah, it's just a small hiccup here. Coming out of turn 1 in this very blind section of the track, your car just looks so planted.
Yeah, you know, it's really important to keep the tires alive throughout the whole lap. And yeah, started with a bit of front locking in turn 1 actually, but then yeah, like halfway through the lap I was quite pleased here how I was able to turn the car. Traction is always quite difficult, you know, here on the exit, because, you know, it's very combined. Then here, this fast section, it's a lot about like confidence in the car, but yeah, I had a good feeling here. And then yeah, this corner, turn 13, super easy to lock the front and go a bit too wide. Actually, I was just borderline. And,
did you know at this point that you were up on Jake, or were you just pushing all the way to the end?
I had no information. Like the team just kept me pushing, and yeah.
Notice here you went slightly offline. How small are the margins?
Margins are super small. You know, you can even see here, like there is like a black line which you have to hit. If you don't hit it with like half of a tire, it's already game over and you slide off.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you very much for that there. Obviously, massive congratulations goes to Maximilian Günther, but we're going to talk about the championship now, because we've got a race that will go some way in potentially, no one's going to win it in Jakarta, but someone could potentially lose it in that sort of magical top 5, Kelvin.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all these double headers are very important. You see it, you know, in the beginning of the season, what kind of a gap it gave to Pascal Wehrlein. It's a big opportunity for all the Porsche powertrains again, especially because, you know, they've got this run going. And it's 2 days on. There's a lot of time to react. So, you know, especially if at the front of the grid, you can really capitalize on these two races.
Can we talk about the Porsche powertrain? Because to the layman, you think, well, from track to track, it's exactly the same. The best team, the best package wins. But we've just seen a shift over the course of the last couple of hours.
But I still, when I got here, when I did a couple of laps yesterday, I thought, this is such a tough track. It's a driver's track over here. But it just seemed like now, from qualifying, it just seemed like some of the powertrains are struggling a little bit more over here. Whether it's power or overall grip in the rear, because it's a whole mechanical, it's a whole rear suspension as well. I don't know exactly. It just shows that Porsche are in a very good position. Right. Jaguar powertrain has suffered a little bit. I would say that it influences a little bit more in qualifying, you know, these differences. I think in the race, once you get everything, everybody's running close together, once you're getting a toes, I think, you know, the drivers that are really experienced, get Jev, Mitch, these guys, they are going to come forward and they are going to be contending for the win of the race. I have no doubt about it. But being in Dennis's position, he is in a very good position because the championship contenders are way far behind him. He has 2 races here this weekend, a doubleheader to gain an advantage. You have Pascal Wehrlein. I think those 2 drivers over there, they're going to have to maximize this weekend as much as they can because, I mean, they have a very good powertrain for this track. They're starting in good position. They have to maintain this momentum today and tomorrow to try to get as many points as they can to get a bit of an insurance for the rest of the championship. I mean, we're not close to the end of the championship, but you know, if you start positioning yourself in a good you know, was a good advantage, good points, it's going to pay off closer to the end of the season.
Is there one man we're not talking about, Kelvin? Jean-Eric Vergne. He's in that top 5. He's not got a Porsche powertrain. He's not got a Jaguar powertrain. Is he somebody who's actually a bit like the silent assassin that Cassidy was a few races ago, who actually could come up and just go right into leading to the end of tomorrow?
Jev is always a guy you can never rule out. We saw his performance in India, how he was able to hold everyone back with a car that necessarily wasn't the best. The Stellantis powertrain is on pole position, so he's got the car, he's got the powertrain to do so. He's got the experience here from the past, and definitely a guy you can never rule out. So I've definitely got him on my map, and we've just got to see how that plays out.
So he's somebody to definitely look out for. But in terms of the Jaguar powertrain, I'll be absolutely fascinated to find out if they can respond to this, and who better to do that than James Barkley, the team principal of Jaguar TCS, who's with Saunders Carmichael Brand now.
So I'm here with Jaguar TCS team principal James Barkley. Now, qualifying, Jules, is where you want to be when it comes to qualifying, but we have seen stranger things happen from the likes of P11, where I believe Mitch will be starting.
Yeah, absolutely. Our qualifying average this year has actually been very strong. So, yeah, this is a difficult quali, but it's all about the tyre, and it's all about kind of getting that tyre in the right window. We didn't quite manage that, but it's a long race. So it's about turning that around now, and we know from Formula you can never give up, right? So from P11, from P16 for Sam, P11 for Mitch, we can absolutely kind of aim to progress forward. Be a very interesting race though. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one as well behind the wheel for the drivers with these temperatures.
So we've seen a win as far back from P11 this season. Do you think that's on the cards here? Is it a different sort of track? Will it race differently?
We don't give too much of our thoughts away, but yeah, listen, I think you can never count yourself out, and we've won from P9 in Rome before. So yeah, never say never. And there's still 7 races remaining in this championship. The job here is just to score points, get as many points as we can today. We'll see where we finish up. So that's the goal. But yeah, we're positive in having a good race car. But yeah, we're never complacent, and we always say this. This is Formula E. 1 minute you're a hero, next minute you're not in that duel, and all of a sudden you can't let that get you down. It's where you finish that matters today. And also we'll learn a lot from the race today for the next race tomorrow as well.
So we've talked a lot so far this weekend about the heat, about the challenges, the extra pressure on the drivers, but what I want to ask you is about the mental pressure. How are Sam and Mitch doing after quite a gruelling session and free practice as well today?
Yeah, listen, they're both well experienced in Formula E, so whether you qualify, get through the duels, or you qualify on pole, they're both very mature in the context that you just have to put that behind you and now move forward. Right? It is what it is. Now we just take that next step and we go forward. So yeah, they're both no doubt hungry. We just had a debrief, and they are hungry to get going in the race now. But also, again, cognizant, it's about just making sure we make the right decisions at the right time in what will be a very challenging race, both physically on the driver, also making sure we're keeping the car and the tyre in the right window through the race. So that's going to be the job for everyone up and down the pit lane today. But I think in the past we've shown we do progress pretty well through the race, and that'll be our goal today.
Looking forward to seeing what you can do. Thanks, James.
Right, Jaguar off at your peril, it's safe to say. Saunders makes a brilliant point. P11, people have won as far back as. Can Jaguar turn things around between now and the start of the race?
I mean, in terms of pure setup, it's difficult. The cars are so different from qualifying to the race. So, there's not really much they can do there. I think what they can do is they can believe in the package they've got. They've proven it over and over again. Trust in their efficiency strategy, what they've done in the simulator. And I think they should have a car which can go forward. I'm pretty sure of that.
And just in a nutshell, just one name, gents. We predicted it earlier on. Who are we going to go for the win later on in the race in just 3 hours' time?
Dennis.
Pascal. I'm going to go for Vela.
Ooh,
yeah,
Porsche powertrain is basically what we've decided here. But what do you think? Get involved in the FE predictor that we've got, by the way. It's essentially plucking cherries at this stage, whether it's the Porsche powertrain, the Jaguar powertrain, or will it be Jean-Eric Vergne? Could it be Maximilian Günther? Could he do the unthinkable and go from pole and actually lead this race all the way to the finish line? Whatever you do, join us in just 3 hours' time when we will go green here in Jakarta.